Welcome, honorable edition, Taem Blong Storian. Taem Blong Storian, you may get Terence, lo left, Mark, lo another side, lo right. Which is have interest to this program, first one last week, and maybe second edition. Terence, my first question, lo Taem Blong Storian. Politic, where are we now?
Taem Blong politik limi henaya. Bro, you summarize him lo Malaysia. Bro, beginning we talk about lobby, Kamanisa lobby and Poko imiga imi from one nibla government, kota nibla cabinet, one nibla ministry, lo maritime and ocean. And I politic we finish now. Government Mr. Walk. PM mi work particular not, lo MV Shokamanu. I think back tomorrow, block council of ministers.
Terence, thank you. Mark, politic.
Interesting time, isn't it? I know there's other issues you're going to want to discuss through the course of the next 3 or 4 hours, of course, given your time frame. But
4 hours.
I would think. I personally feel that there's been some questions asked by the electorate through social media regarding the passport scandal, call it that, passport gate. They're not going away. If anything, they're getting more credibility behind them. We've got Parliament's been called for the 21st to 24th, an ordinary session of March. We could see one of the shortest elected parliaments in the history of Vanuatu come up very shortly. This has the potential to undo them, providing that the information is founded. The trouble is no one's coming clean, which to me, like if people could come up and say this and show you things, it'd go away. But they're not. They're actually going in reverse. Things that we know are there are being lost. Things that are being purported have been swept under the carpet, and they're displaying what we'd call normal spin in trying to distract us from something that is really a very serious allegation that could inflict severe pain to a number of people. But the consequences are far greater than just the 2 passports they're talking about. They've got to talk about a whole load of corruption that goes back through that particular department and how it was handled and why it got to the stage it got to, and why now are the people that were participating or facilitating it putting us in a position where we have to answer that because they've turned on whoever it was that they were previously supporting. And there is a wealth of information out there available, readily available for them to come in. It's a matter of how the prosecutors and that go with it. But I think we're in for a diabolical turn again. Just when you thought it was safe to go back to a legislature, I think we're going to be distracted with this nonsense.
Yes, that's very true. Anyone disturbance yeah.
And then what news flow communicable leader blow position we ikamat lo best day. And give one time frame lo government lo
how many days?
7 days.
7 days.
Lo likamat to come clear what self diplomatic passport we oli talam so likaram confirmation yet lo statement lo leader blow position si oli karam confirmation inside lo department lo foreign affairs lo protocol unit what department lo immigration. So tang you lagi to wala foreign affairs na mi issue diplomatic order lo diplomatic passport
And then who print them?
immigration mi print them.
Immigration is Anthony which ministry?
Internal affairs.
Internal affairs. So foreign affairs me Salem, if I'm correct, or me assume
No, I assume.
And then printing the passport is internal affairs. So interesting topic, yeah.
The problem with it is not that they've made trade commissioners and offered people diplomatic passports. That's something, and there's 2 types of diplomatic passports. There's the full one and there's a restricted one, which basically gives you credibility. When you go to meet someone, it says you've got diplomatic passport and it goes with your credentials and it allows you to transact business on behalf of Vanuatu. So that all countries all around the world, they do that. Okay, we need to be clear on that. That's not an uncommon practice. There's nothing wrong about that.
Countries, yeah.
But the problem is that allegedly they've been issuing passports to people like, say, going to Western Australia, a commissioner, like a trade commissioner to Western Australia, and asking for $100,000. Or they've been asking for trade commissioners into other Asian countries and asking for $200,000 or $300,000. You know, we need to understand that this has happened, but can they substantiate it and can they prove funds? So, like, where we have to be really careful is that it's got to be black and white, beyond the point of doubt that they've actually broken any laws. So To issue a passport, they haven't broken a law. Under the instructions of Foreign Affairs Minister or through the normal process, the channels, to print one up for an individual at the request of Foreign Affairs is normal.
Normal.
Okay. So that means that one would think no one in immigration or in the passport office is doing anything other than their job. Okay. So then it takes you back to the department that's causing the problems, or what other complicities there have been involved in it. And I think Ismail Kalsakau is not one to point the finger without having some facts behind him, having spent a lot of time practicing law. He's very guarded, but he's very pointed. If you read his letter carefully, he's basically saying, guys, I'll give you a time to shine, but if you don't want to shine, I'll make you shine.
Yes.
And that's pretty much what he said to them. But he said that before the parliament was formed, and I asked him, what do you want to do? And he said, I don't care. He said, I'm just going to make sure that we prosecute those that need to be prosecuted. That was always his intention, right back in after he got elected, but before they became members of parliament.
I had that interview.
Yeah.
We had him interview, we've been interviewing him. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's nothing new, so they shouldn't be surprised. But sometimes, people behave like it's nighttime when it's daytime, and unfortunately now it's daytime, and you've got a different audience because we all know something's wrong. But if they can prove to us that there's nothing wrong, we're all going to go, okay, cool, let's go. Yeah, fine, thank you. If they can't, suffer the consequences.
Yes, everyone interesting topic, and also everyone we read him telepost lo today, 7 days.
As from today?
As from today. Anyway,
Yesterday.
this is what they have to do. They come together and talk, and then they must release some more information. Now, never question you got any election petition?
Yes, you got 5.
Some dalam 1, some dalam 5. I have no which one is right.
I read the paper.
You read the paper. You read the paper. Okay.
You got 5 election petition. One lo Maivo. Yes, one lo Maivo. Pendigos.
Malo Ari.
Malo Aure.
Malo Aure, yeah?
Malo Aure.
Fate.
Efate Motana.
Inagat lo potfila.
Potfila inagat.
So you got
Clean.
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 Okay, clean. So you got Lotana too?
Yes, Lotana tu you got.
Okay, so someone dalam say no one more. Pe all newsman lo mivula will start them Storian. So you got 5.
You got 5.
You got 5, huh? So what about look lem? Sorry, you Mark?
No, sorry. I was just doing something. I'm going mad.
No, that's okay. That's okay. You don't need block.
I just looked. So there's some simple ones. The first one in my way. Darren, you probably know more about this than me, but the ones. That's Melissa versus Wilson.
Melissa versus Wilson.
She's just opposed. It's a pretty basic one. Uri Warrawara, reasonably basic. The one that's really wild is Simeon Athies. His name's like 4 or 5, and the commissioner and the Republican. I don't know. I'm surprised he didn't mention you and I on the way through. He's having a proper crack. So he's put a big net. So he's obviously wise to how you have to approach these things in the hope that he only has to get one small thing to trip up. So I think he's implicated 5 MPs. I think, if my memory serves me correctly. And then we've got Nako Nadaman's put in. He's gone after 2 down there, hasn't he? In Andrew Wilbur Nappert, which is our Minister of Internal Affairs, isn't it?
And Simon Johnson,
yes.
So, I mean, all petitions where you may haram.
So I do read your stories, you see.
Yeah, all writers write them story about. So, it's very interesting times. Government is at work. Now, the Prime Minister is traveling. I mean, if it's him, okay, this is one thing I want you to help me to get it right. Lini stay or leader stay? Number 21, the Prime Minister called Pentecost. Lini or leader stay? I don't know which one.
So there
we've only just had Leany Day, haven't we? We had Leany Day last week.
Yeah, last week, but somebody tell him Leany stay or leader stay?
I think it's officially Leany's Day, isn't
officially
it?
Leany's Day. So Prime Minister bin called Pentecost. After me go back.
Pentecost, Maivo,
Santo,
are lo tete ko lo Malagula.
Lo weekend sa lo Malagula.
Lo dia tete tomorrow by must come back for Council of Ministers is town.
Council of Ministers is town. So
that's tomorrow morning, isn't it? Yeah.
Tomorrow afternoon.
Tomorrow afternoon, yes.
So one of thing believe wala time Prime Minister bin only one press conference last week lo Warwick Hotel. I mean tell him say every teachers or directors must perform. But you not perform, this is the door open. Even though I mean say me one Prime Minister must not perform, but me out to same time. Yes, what I'm thinking Mark, this is a very fair talk. Lo tell him say supposed to not perform you out, even though supposed me one minister or me one prime minister, supposed to not perform me out the door.
Okay, I'll just put it back. One of the mandates I saw that going through, and I think Terence had backed this up, and possibly yourself, depending. But going through the interviews that I did, it was pretty much the same line through all the parties and the people that, and most of those are affiliated with this current government, was that effectively what they were saying was RMC had control of the PSC. They wanted to break it down. They wanted to change the attitudes of the PSC and the public servants, and make sure that public servants actually realised that they were there to serve and look after us, and it was because of us that they were there, rather than thinking that they had some God-given right to be arrogant, to be rude, to not turn up to work. You know, like, why are they closing their cashiers at lunchtime? They should just rotate staff through. They've got them there. You know, the Prime Minister was quoted a little bit out of text, I thought. I actually thought he did quite well. And, you know, he's a bit new to this sort of end of the game, so we've got to give him a bit of time to adjust. He's got to get his rhetoric right. He's got to work out his tone right to make sure he doesn't, one thing he says, but that people understand when he says what he says is what he means, as opposed to something completely different, like in this case. So he wasn't saying you couldn't stop for lunch. What he was saying was the service doesn't stop for lunch.
No, service, that's the point. Service, you know, must stop for lunch. You can switch. Okay, time you go lunch, you stop. Just like you mean Vanuatu trading post. You mean stop no more. No, you go lunch, you stop it. That's very true.
That's how it should be. Yes.
Yeah. So you, Terence?
Oh yes, so lo first to takulam lo tutlo pik tamori ebi kamashet lo after we appoint all ministers blame mi say government ba mi wan base performance government. So mi wan dem everyone di perform. Mi dalam total lo beginning tamo mi official speech blame. So na mi kan mi sta implement no total blame.
Yeah, that's very true.
Mi everyone must perform.
Anyway, Magwetim Terence, big topic about the politics. You start lago, stop continue yet with them diplomatic passport, and then you make out two speech for Prime Minister with them press conference with them all stakeholders. Lo wabik. The other four things we like lo you talk about them recovery lo Port-Vila Town. Port-Vila Town, sorry, me no go lo town yet. Me RMC you open lo moorings. Sadly, moorings only break building. A good place for coffee.
I think it was, but it fixed. I'm actually a little flag's going up in my head. Everyone said it was good to go. Then it got closed. Did it get condemned, or only a part of it get condemned? I don't understand why they'd condemn a structure that was made out of timber. People had gone in and witnessed it, so I don't know whether there wasn't a bit of, you know, we're going to pick up on some insurance here and clean it up. I don't know. I mean, I'm not making accusations or allegations. It just seems a bit strange how that went down. When 1 minute they were open and everything was fine, and they traded for 2 weeks, 3 weeks, and then it got closed down. Was it condemned? Why aren't they making public the buildings? What buildings have been condemned? I mean, that should be for all our consumptions. It shouldn't just be for individuals' consumptions. You know, the progress that's been made has been surprising in some instances, yet retarded in others. I think that when you look at it, it's not freehold title, right? It's lease title. Some on those leases, the maximum they got is 32 years if they've extended them, unless some have been abandoned and then renewed after a certain period of time. So it's 50 plus 25. So we're looking at, you know, what's that, 6 and 5, it's 31 years we've got left. People can't go and develop a 5 or 6 story building again, pull it down and put it up again with that length of time on it. There's been a huge amount of talk from the community, and I'd like to say one of the first things that I did say on radio, going back after I first got here, was that it was an issue and perhaps they should look at white paging it, and I think that that's something they could consider, and then take those, so if you've only got 50 years on your property, you've got 6 years left, 5 years left on your lease, then you've got to pay your premium for 25 years, which is quite a solid price, and then you've got to start again, then you've got to probably go and put multi-million dollars into a building that you've got, and then you've got to go for another 75. I think now's the time that they could actually white page those that want to destroy, offer them a block of dirt out of town, bring it back into state-owned property, and use that so we can develop our tourist sector in a central part and redefine our CBD in an area out of town, which will free up a lot of our transit issues. It'll just make the place better, and it will turn it into a place that is a focal point or a real genuine gateway for people coming in, either by ship. They can just come straight in, they go in, all of a sudden they've got bars, they've got clubs, they've got, got all the good things that you want, hotels, salons, and all the stuff that you need that makes special shops. and our CBD can be in another place that's just we all go there to go to work and come home, and it'll obviously generate its own thing, but it won't have the views that it got here. I think we have too many buildings tying up magnificent views in our harbour, and this is the time we could probably seriously consider white paging it. But Tony Deemer came out and he said, you know, that was one of the biggest problems he saw. Then you go on the next side of it. You've got to remember, people pay a huge amount of property tax to PVCC. They pay their land rent to the government. So it's really a joint venture what they've got to do. So I thought it was a bit unfair when he said, you know, if you don't participate, we're going to make you forfeit your lease. I think they need to come up with how they can assist people. These are the times they should. They're getting a lot of overseas aid coming in, and it's minimalised there, and I don't think anyone would begrudge anyone being assisted by the government, given the circumstances, to knock their building down and find a more amenable and fairer way, equitable way, in which they can process it up, where they relocate them to another spot and give them a brand new lease or whatever. What do you think?
Yeah, it's a big topic. Terence?
Oh yes, macam kolege kita lang. So business na ya oli people
Big one.
people property tax ko municipal so lo kafman I sagam sam to kolsem by you know at ba mi wala ya ma list blue. So mai tatingal one pusuno lo ba you only help them kawan lo bali demolition mo building nota but imas katu sam nara option sa ma kolege kita lang sis. Possibility lo ibisay relo ko tem ibiri lo gait o ibikolo taon. O sabsam kapan may budo mo siyam lo imis pidi mabuk lo ba potula taon mi open area lo building ali for full.
So anyway, you open finish. I miss out pati ko lo small restaurant ko pot lo lo imi take one coffee or one juice lo take. But mod story ani kami I think at some building balu budom on Eco Town lo next few days. Maybe by look some big buildings we stop long time finish stop. Also one mi Olympic Hotel by Eco Town. So sorry to us, but that's life. Maybe by Potfila Town in the next 5 years, by local someone Magitalem, the one place to tourists, walk part, relax. And Taem Blong Storian, last topic.
Just before you finish, I know you're in a hurry because but before you, can I just say one thing about that? I don't understand why they're allowing people into some of these buildings that are condemned.
No.
If you look at the building next to the former lands department building they were renting. It's condemned for sure. Like I don't think the flies and mosquitoes want to go in there for fear of it's going to fall down. But the building that used to house 107, it's leaning like this. It's leaning like this, and people are up there pulling stuff out of it and whatever. I don't understand why. Once they're condemned, that's it. It should be no go. Just here, just.
But you're talking about what you saw on the road. Narset low down. People living underneath.
Still.
Oh yes. Very dangerous.
Well, why? Well, okay. You're only reinforcing my views. We talk about condemned. Why aren't they? They should be cordoned off and sorry. Because what happens if we get a decent shake? Wouldn't take a big shake and that'll just go. Kaboom.
No, yes,
I've watched it move. Over since the 17th to now, it's moved an extra few inches. At some point, the point of no return is going to come up and off she goes.
No, I mean the building is important. I probably maskaramat. So I mean one building maskaramat as soon as possible. Even make one story and finish. When we stop underneath, we look on top. You got all man's town. It's very dangerous, to be honest.
Very, very dangerous. Yes. So they've got to do that, and they need to get some changes. And this Harvey Sop, who's running around just screaming and yelling at people and saying the minister's got no authority over anything to do with the municipal and stuff. And we put Shane Royal actually took a video of him there. He's just trying to clean up out the front of Harbour Chinese there. Was it Harbourview Chinese? And just the front there where he is. And he said, oh no, you can't be down here. And he said, well man, I'm cleaning all this up here and it's not costing a cent. I've got to put this back here. And so anyway, so he just threw his hands in the air. This was after the ministry had said, no, it's fine, carry on. We need more people to help.
Yeah, that's true. Now our time is running out. Terence with the mark. The other topic we like me talk about, strike role teachers. Because some parents will very angry because the kids are still at home. They don't know what to do. All teachers will teach small beginning. Maybe you'll not qualify enough. I have no idea. But I want this topic to talk about next week. Because one very important topic. Terence, when I'm touch them small, Terence?
Also one mama ya bitalam si Loyalan ya. Bitalam bersam si minasama si papi lebih kalau school lo ya by 1 year 10 student 1 year 10 5 by teacher by
year 10
1 year 10 5 by teacher by bisa merit or right or what one.
Mark, one topic ya.
Okay.
You begin to school.
No, I was pretty stupid. But anyway, I left school when I was 14, then came back and was a mature age student and still didn't do very well. But anyway, that's okay. The thing I'd like to say is I'm not a big fan of unions, but I am a real supporter of people's rights to be given what they're entitled to. And if this was something where they were wanting to get extra hours or more money come in, or have a different bargaining agreement to try and improve their work conditions, I'd have a real problem with this, and I'd say declare it an essential service, and which the minister still could, and I don't know why he doesn't. If he really wants to get over it, all he has to do is declare the education of our children an emergency service, and you can't have a strike. And I've been telling them this for 6 months. But that said, I 100% support the teachers in their actions, because they went in 2000 and asked people. They went in 2006, asked people, 2015 and asked people, 2023, and then went on strike. Now, I'll put it to you this way. You've come to me 20 years ago and said, Mark, that I've got a list of things you're supposed to pay me, but you only paid me half. Do you reckon you can pay me the other lot? And I said, no, I'm not going to pay it to you. And I think you're a terrorist, and I think you're a criminal. And why are you even asking? You go back and do what you're doing, and I'll sort it out sometime when I've got something. Yeah, how are you going to feel? You wouldn't wear that for 20 years. I know some people, they're up to 34 years. Now, the problem is the Teachers Service Commission have failed. The Teachers Service Commission is like PSC. They're supposed to keep the HR. They're like the HR for the teachers, okay? They keep a record, know where they're at, know what they're supposed to do. Half this problem would have been solved if they had been doing their job, but because they were it would appear to be so corrupt and so unintelligent and so full of nepotism inside their organisation that they can't function. They fail to realise that they are serving an entire nation, not just their own personal needs. So they should have been able to go straight into their computer and say, here's the printout, boom, this is exactly how it rolls. This is, your name and your number is, boom, and it would come up on my screen immediately. They've had the money. They can't. They don't know. They still can't quantify it.
I'm so sorry.
So all these people come, and the only defence they've got is attacked by saying you're criminal or treating them like that. You just go back to work, do as you're told. All that they've asked for, see, they hang their hat on a Council of Ministers thing. Sorry, I get a bit annoyed about this. The Council of Ministers paper written in a former legislature is worth squat. And even in this legislature, if they do a com paper, it's not legally binding. That's why they want a collective bargaining agreement, so it's legally binding, so they can then go to the court and enforce it and force the government to pay. All they need is someone to go and say, yes, we agree, we're going to pay this. And this is how we're going to pay it, and it's signed in the courts. If they don't perform it, they start losing their cars, their assets and everything else. Got to be held accountable. The time has come where a Vanuatu government has to stand up and deliver to the people, not hide behind their own nonsense and bullshit. Like we're sick of it. Sorry, there you go. That's my opinion.
No, thank you. And last time, the Prime Minister said, when we come back, I meet with them, with you.
Yeah, but kalau saya tu lihat why from case mi pending lokot.
Right, okay.
By meet start mo so I mi cancel them.
Mark and Terence, this is some hot topics we may talk about today. We got them short. When we come back next week, we'll talk about some real topics here. But when I want something say. Anyway, you got any more last time you tell them? Because this is Tamu is a story, Max Storian. I feel like we need pick something. You may help them country play block. At the moment we are not. You may try to breathe, we may not breathe. So it's very important for us to help the system. Play make them see me move on forward. That Max Storian, I just feel like the people are working with
The only thing I'd like to say is to all the parents out. I got kids. I got 6 kids at school, and I support the teachers' strike 100% because they need to be. We're not going to get people doing and teaching our children properly if we don't pay them properly.
That's true.
And if we give into it and that we allow people to call them basically treating them like terrorists or criminals, we're not supporting them. And I think this is one social right where we need to protect those people's values and we need to protect their right to be paid a fair pay for what was written down when they first engaged in the job. And I think we've got to support it 100%. And that's a good lesson to teach our children.
Fully agree. Terence?
Yes, me too. Me totally agree with them. Colleague with them. Especially PM kuti ba yun sa sana tu may kam kuti interview ana. Yeah. You should some backside me, should some backside you.
Thank you, Thomas. Thank you. More topics coming up next week. Lo Taem Blong Storian. But before we finish, want something no more. Suppose you kat pignini, pa kat school. Pignini, ami also more customer. And suppose you kat all sick man, pa kat doctor what more less. So every party is important. Parents important, pignini important, teachers important. Every man we work plus 7 country, only very important. We need to look after them very, very well. So me repeating back again, if there is no children, there will be no teachers. So pignini emisemak also one customer, so we need to look after them very, very well because without the children, we will have no money. So back again, Lobby Avlon Motobi is coming up next week. Until then, from Mivalatri, tata everyone, bye for now.